Welcome to another episode of Ruff Talk VR, a weekly podcast with in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer interviews, and the latest MetaQuest and virtual reality news. We join our hosts, the father-son team of D. Scruffles and Stratus today, as they spend another episode breaking down and discussing the world of virtual reality.
Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR, coming at you with another fun interview. Today we're joined...
This one's going to be really good. They're all good, but this is going to be really good.
Yeah, this one is, we're joined by the developers of Gauntlet, and this is a game that the first time I saw the trailer, I went, wow, I don't think we have one of these in VR yet. It's essentially a VR obstacle course, and we checked it out for the first time last night. I was expecting like a 5-minute little obstacle course, run it back multiple times.
Oh, quite
It took me 22 minutes to beat the first one. The map is huge.
But you did drag ass on some of the...
Yeah, and messed up in some ways that I wouldn't going forward again. But
competitively, you would be a lot better this time.
Yeah, needless to say, the maps are huge. So I'm super excited for this one. Today, we're joined with Brian Allen. He's the studio lead of the game. And then we're also joined with Connor Shine. He's the creative director. And their studio name as well, Bearhammer Games. Come on, awesome studio name. So you already know they're going to be great people. But before I get carried away, Brian and Connor, do you mind to each introduce yourself a little bit more for our listeners? Tell them who you are and maybe a little bit better what Ventures Gauntlet is.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Brian. I'm originally from Toronto. I'm Canadian, kind of American. Moved to Scotland to start Bearhammer Games about 4 years ago. And I guess the goal with Ventures Gauntlet is just to make the most insane obstacle course possible in VR. It's pretty short and simple. And I'm programming, kind of handling a lot of studio admin tasks and that kind of thing. But I'll pass it on to Connor now to introduce himself.
Hey, I'm Connor. I'm the creative lead at Bearhammer. So I'm based in London at the moment. So Brian sort of contacted me like a couple of years ago. I was doing like some freelance like video editing and animation work to come and help on a project. And he just found me through my Instagram that I was like putting some things up on there. And then we started working on this project. Goes like two and a half years ago now, I think. But yeah, it originally, like, the idea was for it to be like a pure like fitness thing. And then we sort of shifted it over time to just be a bit more like about like crazy obstacle courses and really just like pushing that like as far as we could go. And that's been a lot of fun.
Well, the fitness element's still there, without a doubt.
That's true.
I said that during the tutorial. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The minute that they're like, okay, squat, I'm like, well, I'm not being asked to do this just for the hell of it. I'm like, they want to know. So I kind of I didn't go down all the way with the squat. I went down to what I felt comfortable that I might have to do 100 times.
That's a veteran move right there. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been down this road before. I know what's going to. So yeah, I definitely, even after 20 minutes, it's like my arms had some.
But the fitness element is kind of disguised in the game.
Oh,
it's not fitness first, it's game first, and then you have this moment.
By the time you figure it out, really, you're already in it. So
you're like, my arms are burning. Why are my arms burning? Oh, yeah, because I'm doing this a whole bunch. I'm swinging my arms even just to move. So, you still see those.
That was definitely like the shift we wanted to do on that like prioritization of like trying to make it feel like it's the game first, and then you kind of get to the end and you're like, oh, actually, I'm exhausted.
Yeah. And I love the idea of a VR obstacle course. How did this idea come to be? Like I said, I don't think I've seen one of these in VR yet.
Well, not to this scale.
So I think the original inspiration was looking at the success of Ring Fit Adventure on Nintendo Switch. So that's a game where it's kind of sold with this accessory. It's like this circular ring, and they have a game format where you kind of like you do some running in place. And then you kind of do like some squats or like some different like ab exercises and things. So it's like a Nintendo kind of first party thing. And so originally we kind of thought, maybe there's a kind of room in the market for VR for something that kind of has that kind of, movement through a course and then also has that fitness component. So originally when we were scoping it, we were thinking like, okay, maybe we'll do some kind of movement through the course and then do some rhythm mechanics, do that kind of thing. And as we were kind of building, I think we just kind of realized that the core that felt so much more fun was just really going like kind of heavy on the climbing and the obstacles, and trying to focus it more to be like, I guess, a game where fitness is kind of not so like it doesn't feel like you need a personal trainer to play it. It's more like you're playing a game and the fitness is kind of just happening. And so, but that was kind of the original inspiration for it, was like looking at Ring Fit Adventure and then saying, well, like maybe there's a room in the market for that, because Sprint Vector is obviously like a very kind of comparable title, one of those early VR games that had that kind of arm swing to run as their core mechanic. But I guess I guess looking at that game, learning some lessons from that, I felt like, marrying that with games like climbing, obviously like the Climb had done extremely well too, and it's a great game. That seemed to be a good combination to try, I guess. So, yeah, hopefully that gives some good background. And Connor, I guess you've steered the project, a lot the past year and a half. So maybe what are your thoughts on the inspiration behind things?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of, we started off and we built those mechanics to begin. So we had like a very early demo a couple of years back we put on kind of Steam Next Fest, which was like the first time we got it out there. And that was, we just had these very basic mechanics and you were running and kind of climbing, and it felt like fun, but I think there was something kind of lacking in it sort of really feeling like dynamic and like there was some danger. And so we sort of put a bit more emphasis on adding these like lasers and turrets and sort of more sort of sequenced events, like these like big like lifts, like gondola lifts that like take you from place to place with like the cranks and stuff. And that definitely like made the game feel like much more fun and less like you're just always running and climbing and like there's not too much variation in what you're doing. Having to like kind of making the climbing feel a bit more like a puzzle sort of, I think, definitely added that extra fun factor.
Well, I 100% appreciated the ability in some areas. And again, I've only done level 1. I will say that one of the things that bummed me out was because I wanted to get right into level 2, but I knew that my arms were getting fatigued. I swear to God that I was like, I'm not going to be able to put that same effort in. Mm-hmm. So I almost feel like no matter what, I got to take a 15-minute break. But the fact that you almost have like a choose your own adventure, get to the same end zone, but which path do you want to take? I really liked that. I loved the wheels when you have to move and I'm moving them in time. I didn't even try to move them out of time. I'm just thinking how it would probably have to go to do it uniformly, but I'm loving the experience. And it seems so simple. Like, hey, you're going to run an obstacle course, but I had no idea to the scale. Mm-hmm. And so far the creativity put into the different, the freaking monkey rings, dude, where you go from the monkey bars to the rings and you swing it felt legit.
Think of all the little micro game elements in this one game. It's huge. So
it's only just begun. I mean, I don't know what else is in store for me here. This is,
yeah. And Connor mentioned being part of the team for 2.5 years, but what's been the total time that this project has taken?
So I guess it is 2.5 years. I did start a previous game in VR before this for 2 years called Bearhammer. So that's why the company is named Bearhammer. So I did have a little bit of a head start in terms of VR development and kind of, those basics. Yeah, I guess, we've been going for quite a while. We had a team of up to 10 at one point, but we're kind of joking, and like I've been watching Shogun lately. I don't know if you guys have seen that series on Disney Plus, but it almost kind of feels like running a VR game studio, or I guess a game studio in general. It's kind of like operating like a pirate ship. Like you're kind of like navigating. You have like maybe like you have like some crew as you kind of go on. You pick up some people along the way. Some people go off, and you like reach the end, and you're just like you're battered. You're like you're half drowning, half like scurvy, and and then you release a product, and you hope you find treasure. I guess that's kind of the journey of like an indie game dev. So yeah, we've been going for quite a while and working quite hard, but I think you'll see, especially like in the later levels, Connor has gotten kind of crazier and crazier and madder, and he's designed some really insane kind of sequences that have really start pushing it. Like especially like stages 7 to 9, we race them with each other, and like Connor and Sandy annihilate my time because they're younger guys with high fitness. I'm finishing like 10 minutes behind them. Anyway, rambling.
No, I love the analogy of like being
It's
a
perfect.
pirate, because the minute you said that, in the VR space in general, for a lot of it's uncharted waters. Nobody really has the magic secret. Nobody knows what the true formula is, and it's just a lot of, I have an idea and I think it'll work, and then putting it out into the VR universe and seeing what happens. So,
and sometimes there's that uncertainty too as the captain. Is there even land that direction? Is there going to be any treasure?
Right?
Have
or do we sink?
Yeah, have we
It's
been
a great analogy.
sailing for 2 years just to hit nothing, or are we going to hit the biggest pile of gold
It happens.
there is? I love that analogy. And you referenced you had a little head start in VR game development with Bearhammer as a game.
I want to know what that is.
Yeah, that's a good question. What is that? But was that your first ever game as well? And for you, Connor, as well, do you have experience in the game industry, or is this your first one?
I'll let Connor take that first.
No, for me, this is my first one. I was just doing some little bits of like freelance kind of editing and that for sort of small brands here and there. But then I picked up Unreal like after I finished uni, and then Brian sent me a message like, come work on this, and that's sort of been my story so far. Still here.
So Brian, you literally stumbled on his work through social media.
Yeah, I had a project. So, to fund kind of the studio, we've done, some contract development along the way as well. So I had a project that needed some expertise with like metahuman and animating metahumans. And so Connor had kind of demonstrated on social that he had done some of that. And I guess, he's just worked incredibly hard afterwards. There's a lot of talent. He's helped to build this whole brand as well. All of the logos and everything you see are Connor's work. So I think, and now he's, a part owner in the company. It's definitely been great to, work with people who have, that kind of talent and drive. And, I guess I was just really fortunate to pick Connor up for that contract, and then really fortunate that he's, stayed along for this journey as we've, gotten to this point. Yeah, I guess to answer your other question, I guess my history in game dev, I started about 12 years ago working for Gameloft in New York City. So I was doing like mobile games. And then I moved to LA to be a product manager for a game called World War Toons. So it was a PlayStation VR 1 title. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that one. Yeah. Worked with Studio Roquefort on that for about 1.5 to 2 years. Had a really great experience playing a lot of VR games, getting into it. In that era, I think my favorite game was Space Pirate Trainer. And I think since then, it's probably Thrill of the Fight. And so working there kind of gave me the courage and confidence to just try my hands at kind of, something really indie. So I spent 2 years making that game Bearhammer, and so it's still out. It's on Steam. It's kind of like a wave-based action RPG. So you can throw out hammers, and then it was really good with like the original Vive controllers because it kind of felt like the grip of a hammer. So you can throw them out, and then you hold the trigger, and it summons the hammer back to you like Thor, and you can smash enemies and send them flying. So at the time, I got kind of dismayed. It had kind of poor reviews. I think people, were kind of inundated with wave shooters at the time. And it felt like kind of a genre, like action RPG, that would be really, really hard to make it kind of high polish with like a very small team. Because like every single animation, has to be good. Like it's like, if you have kind of things that kind of stand out as kind of poorly implemented mechanics in the action RPG, it kind of just, ruins the whole game, I guess. So I put that project on kind of on pause and built a team to go after more of this VR obstacle course project. But that's the history, I guess, for me in VR games, and that's why the company is named Bearhammer. It's not entirely creative, I guess, because the original game was Bearhammer. Yeah,
but still creative because Bearhammer is a good name,
and you're always gonna have the legacy of that game too.
Yeah. That's the story of where the company name came from. Yeah, that's pretty good. So are you both self-taught or university taught? Very curious.
Well, I guess we both have university degrees. I studied management information systems in university and did some programming with that. And then I did a neuroscience program where I was doing like computational neuroscience. And so there I did a bit of programming. But as far as games, I guess never went to kind of like a professional games development course or university. More self-taught, just kind of self-teaching Unreal Engine.
Yeah, it's pretty similar in mine. I did a physics degree, but again, it was like not a lot of kind of stuff that's really related to anything I actually do now, because I'm more on the art side here. But there's a lot of, especially during COVID, I was getting involved with like Blender and a lot of those, and then picked up Unreal Engine at one point and just trying to make kind of cool art and started doing like a few little video editing things here and there, and that's sort of where I started, and then sort of moving more into the kind of game direction afterwards.
I love physics and neuroscience. From that to VR game development, that's pretty incredible. But at least with physics, there's no excuse to like see something be played out, and if it's supposed to be ultra real, be able to justify it not. So it's at least your understanding of physics is. So that's
cool. True.
Mm-hmm. And how much of the theme and the vibe, both with artistic element and with gameplay, because you mentioned the start was a little bit more of a fitness game direction, and then it became disguising it behind the game. And you mentioned Connor put together the logo or the artwork for the game. So how much of the theme and the vibe of the game being this rich person's obstacle course, world's greatest game type vibe, and it being this obstacle course, how much of that was known from day one versus kind of evolved over the course of the development? And at what point was it, this is Venture's Gauntlet?
Yeah.
Connor, I think we should let you take that one, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it took a while. When we first started, we didn't really have like any idea, like for a vague thing. We just sort of wanted to make some mechanics and then kind of see what felt fun and go from there. But our original, it wasn't originally called Venture's Gauntlet until maybe about a year ago. I think we were called Adventure Fitness VR, which was a kind of a very generic sort of name at the time, but it was sort of worked for what we were doing there. I think we always had this kind of like branded obstacle course feeling, like the signs and stuff that are like throughout the game. They were sort of there from pretty early on, from the original demo. And we sort of knew we wanted this idea of like some company that's making these kind of courses and you're doing it. But it was only more recently that we kind of evolved it into this, having like a more solid story. It's really only in the last like few months that we added this kind of Adam Venture character to like fully do it, because we were sort of like struggling on how we'd be able to implement that, and we had to kind of prioritize some other things. But I had a friend of mine who he's not a voice actor professionally, but he's just really funny. And so I asked him, like, hey, do you want to come around for like a few sessions and we'll just record a bunch of like dialogue and see if it works. And yeah, I think it worked out pretty well. And we added the Adam Venture character to kind of just add like a little bit of context and character to the whole thing. And I think that has made that actually come quite a long way. And it's sort of surprising like how much that's changed in like literally the last kind of 2 months of development or so.
I feel like that theme and atmosphere of it really pieces it all together. I feel like it being Venture's Gauntlet, this obstacle course, this millionaire's, dream project, is a much more polished direction than, the Adventure Fitness VR.
Yeah, just being there and for no reason.
Yeah, to me, it's like, hell yeah, I'm doing a millionaire's obstacle course. You feel it when you're in the game. So that's funny to hear that just came together at the end, because to me, that's a big part of the polish of the game.
Yeah, I think it had kind of been sort of under the surface of something we wanted to do, but it was like, we've got to actually make the game work first. So let's make sure that's all done, and then
yeah.
So we got to the end. It's like,
we've got
a bit of time to stick it in. That was good.
I would give a shout out to, like, we have a contact at Meta named Stephen Dunn, And so he gave us some really good feedback on the game, and he thought that there was a bit of kind of like that empty void to kind of fill, and so he really encouraged us to try and add a bit of that story as well. So shout out to him that we've kind of focused on that, and it's really improved it and made it feel like less empty, and gives you like that reason that you kind of like want to keep going to like uncover the the mysterious kind of secrets of the Venture family.
I love to hear when the meta team is hands-on.
Well, more importantly, I love to hear when developers actually take the advice, because not everyone takes the advice. And
Some people get offended
get
about it.
Correct. It's like, no, this is how we're going to do it. And so to be able to make the moves you need to without being so attached to an idea that might only work for you, not the masses you're trying to appease. But I get it. I love it. And I'd say most of their advice is for a reason, because in my heart of hearts, I believe they want people to be successful. I mean, it seems to be their...
Well, if they're incentivized, they get 30%
Correct.
cut of it. I mean,
it's
everybody
a benefit
wins
for all parties involved. So, but to actually listen to the advice and go, you know what, it makes sense. And I mean, we love lore. So everything to me has to have some sort of lore to it of like what's going on and what's not going on.
And it has that world's greatest hunt feel to it. Remember that old story with the millionaire that hunts humans? That was the first thing I thought when I saw this. I was like, oh, this is the obstacle course version of it. So
I thought it would be cool to do one full scale until I went over some water element that I'm like, oh, well, even tethered, you'd probably die. So it wouldn't work.
And we've been seeing games hype up a lot recently, like their map size, like Contractor Showdown, 16 square kilometers.
Yeah.
Do you have
That's no joke, yeah.
Do you have a map size of
we did measure it at one point. Well, we measured it at one point. I can't remember, but
huge.
It is massive. Yeah. With the original, like the PC VR version from before, it had all 9 stages were in the same space. So it is all like adult. We had to split it up for the Quest version, but it still is like you're going from the start to the end. And so when you get up to the top and you see the castle in the distance, like that is the actual distance that it is away. And you will go through like every step of the way along there. So it is all to scale in that. But God, I need to check the numbers again, but it's at least maybe straight line distance. It's like 6 or 8 kilometers, I think, from that kind of top hill to the castle, I reckon.
And that whole time you're swinging your arms, climbing monkey bars, swinging.
Monkey bars, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should measure it in calories. Like maybe we can say it's 50,000 calories to the finish. Yeah.
Well, I burned 58 on level 1, and I was not going like full bore either. So that's pretty cool.
And the leaderboard element is huge. This game hits so many good elements. You have the ghosting,
the competitive
player option.
That's not even funny.
And even the option to have a ghosting player, whether that's from the leaderboard or your own personal best. That's, all these small things are so huge for a game.
I'm very incentivized with a leaderboard.
Yeah.
I can't help myself. Even if I don't make it, it's just like, I want to know how somebody did it like that.
And exactly how many obstacle courses are there in the game?
There are
currently?
9 stages to it. Currently.
So 9 stages.
9 stages, but within each stage, how many? Yeah, like how many? Do you know even how many total
gameplay elements you could say?
Oh, dude,
let's try and list them. Yeah, that's.
So we kind of build it. It's almost like we've got like Lego pieces, right? So we've got like a couple of sort of these blueprint pieces, right? We've got these horizontal walls that you can climb along. We got the monkey bars, we got the lasers and the buttons. And the idea was like what we were making is like, right, if we can build like these kind of modular obstacle course elements, then we can like start combining them in different ways. And that's sort of the idea was that hopefully we'd be able to kind of end up with some really, really quite complicated like combinations of things. But because it's all made of like the same like simple pieces that you sort of learn along the way, it's not like, I don't even know how to do this. Like, what does this even mean? Like, hopefully it should be a vaguely smooth kind of learning curve on it.
My favorite new one that we've only got it in stage 9 right now, but I feel like it adds a lot to the game and it's fun. Have you all seen like the Resident Evil movie where there's this like grid of lasers that come towards like through this kind of like tunnel? So anyway, I don't want to spoil too much, but I guess like we have like a crazy laser wall that is implemented that it's kind of roughly inspired by that movie, and it's basically you'll have like a whole grid of lasers coming towards you, and you have to figure out how to get past it, and otherwise it annihilates you. There's a lot of crazy stuff towards the end, but yeah, I've got like rope swings, vertical climbs, horizontal climbs, turret gunners,
Zipline.
shields, zip lines.
Archery.
And then there's like chaining things together, I guess. So it's like you're not just doing the rope swing, but you're doing the rope swing and then having to grab something after you jump off. And I guess we said we were going to talk maybe about the slow-mo button as well, because that's where the slow-mo makes a really huge difference. If you're like, you can have these epic moments where you're doing the rope swing and then you let go, and then if you press the slow-mo button, you can be like, and then grab. So yeah, the use of the slow-mo button can help a lot too, with like the trickier stuff.
I think that's definitely where the kind of high end of the skill cap comes in. If you're trying to do some things, like you can sort of throw yourself off of some of the walls to like land on others, and if you like press the slow-mo while in midair, it makes it like easier to kind of grab on. So if you want to get like the really top end times of the leaderboards, you've got to sort of chuck and like jump and like kind of try and skip over some of the things, almost like jump your way through to like properly speedrun it.
Okay, I wanted to try that last night on one of the like climbing the wall with the wood on it, and I'm like, I wonder if I could just like monkey throw myself up on this thing, and then I just stayed focused to just going one at a time. But that's a game changer, especially if you could literally go from one wall to the other side, because there might be some obstacles you have to go over stuff, under stuff while climbing walls. But if the other side is clear, okay, I get it.
It's risky. It's risky. You can mess it up.
That's a game changer,
then, like,
though.
waste your time. But yeah, it's definitely the
if you're hunting
fastest way
leaderboards,
if
it
you
might
can
be
pull it off.
your only option.
Yeah, if someone else is doing it and their score is on there because of it, then there's no other way.
And then just to get it on recording off air, you had asked a little bit about the slow-mo, because off air,
I struggled a little.
Yeah, it felt like you would slow-mo, but then you would move at
I
the
thought
same...
I could slow-mo and then I could still go in fast time. But
So do you want to explain real quick exactly how the slow-mo works?
Yeah, so it slows down the time and like how you can like run, but it obviously doesn't slow your actual body down. So if there's like a turret coming straight at you, you can sort of probably like lean to the side or duck under, and if you slow it down, you get like a bit more time to do it. But yeah, and again, it's also just really helpful for like if you're trying to jump between one thing and like catch another, gives you like enough time to like put your hands in the right place to grab it before. Otherwise, you've got to be like really quick to get that instantly.
And then, do you have any other gameplay tips for new players as well too?
Ooh.
Sometimes slow and steady wins the race. Patience can help, when you're going through like, and kind of trying to time lasers or do climbing. What else?
So one thing is maybe one thing that's maybe not like immediately obvious is if you've got the trigger held down to like grab something, it will grab it if you just like then put your hand over the kind of like the climbing thing, and so it makes it quite like easier to kind of just keep kind of going quickly, because if you have it held down and then move in, you'll grab automatically. Like we've had on an earlier version where you couldn't do that. Like if you didn't perfectly have your hand in the right place and press grab, like you wouldn't grab, and it was like really frustrating. You'd fall all the time. But yeah, if you're holding it down and touch the grabbing thing, you will grab.
I guess with the rope swings too, like your timing of your release does matter. Like sometimes I've seen some people like using the rope swings, and I think they kind of don't time it at the correct kind of timing of the arc. So if you've ever played like Donkey Kong Country, you've kind of got like that training where it's like you've got the pendulum of the rope swing, and you kind of have to like know the physics of like once you cross kind of that bottom point of the rope swing and then you're to there, your trajectory is going to be forward. And so I've seen some people, I think, where like they kind of wait until the very end of a rope swing and then they let go, and then they're like, why did I fall straight down? And it's like, well, there's actually kind of like a physics to it. You want to time like when you release it. So that's something that I think can help as well. or just play Donkey Kong Country. Maybe as training for
Yeah,
before.
I'm- I think my first experience was the Atari Pitfall, the Atari 2600, because you had to swing on the vines like Indiana Jones style, and you're talking like those old ass. So yeah, it was either hit it at the one sweets, and then Tarzan was another one, I think, something like that.
And I think the reminder on slow and steady is a good tip, because most of my mistakes were trying to speed, climb, or getting
Those lasers,
impatient laced
man.
with the lasers. Yes.
The triple lasers, they got me good. And then I was like, nope, I just got to like
be patient,
take a breath, not try to be in such a rush to.
It's less time to wait for them to run their next cycle.
I love the movement with the arms. I get all like
animated
Terminator with it. Yeah. I keep them like on pro style.
And you mentioned a gameplay feature that's only in level 9 for now. So do you have a mental roadmap, nothing official, but ideas of more content to come in the future? I know that's always rough to hear when you just came out with a freaking game after 3 years of development.
Yeah, I mean, I think
guess
there's
getting the
so many
multiplayer.
different.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, you go ahead. The multiplayer is probably the big one. The next part.
Multiplayer is probably the number one. I think just everyone who's played wants to race a friend or just cooperatively go through a course with a friend. So I think that's just, by and large, like the number one for us. We're trying to figure out if we need to do dedicated servers to do that, or if we can do peer-to-peer. We'll have to kind of do some testing to see, but that's definitely like number one on the roadmap. I guess in terms of new courses, we've kind of have built some already, kind of partially, and we have kind of those other members of the Venture family. There's kind of like an Easter egg if you go in the hub world where the green kind of Venture's Gauntlet sign is. If you press buttons near that sign, it kind of unveils a little bit about the other members of the Venture family. So I guess maybe Connor, do you want to speak about kind of ideas for like other courses you've been thinking?
Yeah,
about?
we had a couple that we wanted to do. One set in kind of the jungle as well, have like a real kind of Tarzan type thing going on there. A little bit like Raiders of the Lost Ark. You're going through some old temples. We had one we wanted to do in Norway. We had like a test one of it years ago, but that was just like, it's just quite kind of beautiful. You're like in this kind of harsh, stony landscape with all this ice everywhere. And that was really cool. So yeah, we definitely love to kind of do some more in those in different environments. In terms of like kind of gameplay obstacles, I think we wanted to do like a few more sort of, I think things where like part of the things that you grab onto like move in different ways. And so you kind of, I know maybe you have to like grab on something, press a button and it moves like part of the way along, and then jump over to something else. I think there's just a lot you can do. I feel like we've got like quite a solid, just basic foundation of the controls that's pretty simple, and I think you can just keep layering different obstacles on top of it until just keep going. So I'm quite excited.
I think multiplayer
is going to be a game changer.
Huge.
Yeah, because
for this game,
we played on Party Chat, about as close as we could currently do, but multiplayer to be able to like race your buddy, that's no joke.
Or even teach them if it's like you played the game before, now you're playing with you. Let me show you how to do it real quick.
Social gamified exercise.
Yeah,
I'm down.
I love that. I was thinking when I saw the asynchronous style of having a ghost runner with you, I was thinking that's the way the multiplayer, the online
would go,
and that's like the climb. That's how the climb is. I thought, boom, that's it. So to hear that you guys have on your mind actual multiplayer with
a game changer.
Oh my goodness, it's going to be huge. So you don't have an avatar in the game though. So that would mean you would need some sort of avatar system, right?
Yeah, let's wrap on this. Let's brainstorm. I've got some ideas in mind. Connor has some ideas in mind, I think. Maybe we can ask you guys first. When you imagine an avatar for the game, how would you imagine it?
You want me to be honest with you? I think that I know not everybody's going to like this answer, especially with it coming to other platforms, but I think it's a game that works great with meta avatars.
Interesting.
That's in the comical value, I'd say yes.
That kind of fits
the
aesthetic
if you wanted
of the game.
It to fit with the true lore, I don't know how much sense that would make.
So what would you do? What would you do for Avatar?
I don't know. It depends on so it's a millionaire, right? That made this. Am I being forced to do this?
Were you kidnapped or invited?
Yeah, was I invited
it's
or
sort
did I
of
get in on?
a little it's
Ambiguous.
a little unclear. Yeah, it's ambiguous.
Because if
how
it's
voluntary
kidnapped, your meta avatar
participation
makes
is.
sense. Your guy's wearing a suit
Well-
because that's what he was
Well,
scooped
no,
up in.
because I would think like if I were an evil genius and shit, I would have a specific outfit I would expect my entertainment to wear, especially if it was team based, red or blue, some shit like that.
Mhm.
But I would not let them wear their street clothes to go on it. I want to give everybody the fair shake, so they would need similar attire. It's life or death here, right?
Yeah, I lean meta avatars. That's my answer on this one. But it's interesting.
Well, you love meta avatars for everything.
Well, I think it fits the aesthetic of the game.
My guy would be in a suit.
Yeah, because that's what he was wearing
I'm
when
gonna
his ass
lose.
got
I'm in a
scooped up with a giant butterfly net and brought to Venture's Gauntlet. That's the way it goes.
I almost like prison uniforms.
Get some
But I'm
jumpsuits.
just going on left field.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, you're in the same ballpark, I think, is what I was thinking about too. Yeah, I'm even thinking of taking it maybe a step further. So I like the full body IK that you see in VR games. Like I really like Ghosts of Tabor, where you can see people kind of like in their full kind of arms going around. Gym class also is that kind of full body IK, and I like that. So I'm kind of trending towards thinking about full body for the actual kind of thing. But I'm wondering if there might be a part of the body that we replace where it makes you question if you're really human still underneath. That's something where we could take it.
I love any direction you go. Even if it was just, and people would slaughter me for saying, but if the multiplayer was just basically like a shadow image of my buddy, I wouldn't hate it.
That's how it is. Well, except you can't pick just your buddy.
Correct. But if I knew it was live and that
Mhm.
was my buddy over there, then
Mhm.
then I wonder, is you ever going to be able to mess with your friend, like have a throwable that
Yeah, I
rip
mean,
them off
this
the
is what
monkey balls.
we've been considering in a few different ways for how, because I think we designed all these courses initially just for the single player, and you could probably do 2 players kind of going through it the same if you're not interacting. But I think there's definitely some opportunity to make courses where you're fully it's fully a race between 2 people. Maybe there's a button that drops a bridge if they're the other person's running on it or something like that. You do some kind of Mario Kart type situation,
Or even cooperative elements where you need both parties to do something. We're not necessarily racing against each other.
You know what
but
I love?
together.
It's and we're just sitting here talking, and it's you could see so much potential for any direction. You different modes. You could have different game modes. You could have
new courses.
It's just I like it.
A lot of potential.
It's actually has a lot more depth than you would think just on the surface. But when you really get into it, it's the amount of content that can be added over the years is ridiculous.
And we're just spitballing here. It's so easy, snap your fingers and you have an avatar system. But I mean, let's talk a new course. How long does it take to develop a new course?
Wow, I think the levels themselves to start don't take a crazy amount of time. Each stage probably takes a month or so. The bigger issue is just getting it to work on Quest, because that's there's just a huge amount of kind of optimization you have to do on it afterwards. So we had most of the kind of gameplay stuff of the game done maybe 6 months ago, and so it was just a huge just going through step by level to kind of really just make sure everything runs at frame rate on mobile. And that was a nightmare to do, but
I was reading a post from someone on LinkedIn recently. We were talking about Max Mustard for the shirt that you're wearing, and I think what was interesting reading that is that they're obviously another platforming game, exceptionally well done, and they have quite a lot of levels as well. And they were talking about how half their time of development was spent on art optimization. So I think that's why you don't see if you think back to the Nintendo kind of era, so much stuff was platforming games, right? You had Mario, at Sega, you had Sonic, every kind of Looney Tunes game, everything would be a platforming game. Everything would be a side-scrolling platformer. But on VR, there aren't that many. And I guess part of it is because as a small team, it's kind of to build that many levels and build that much scale, it takes a lot of effort to optimize all that and have it still come out looking, fairly decent. So I think we're really, really excited, I guess, because we wanted to prioritize first just like really nailing all those movement controls. And, like we just feel like movement is really kind of like that key kind of component to VR. And so I guess now that we've got that, and we hope that the headsets are going to keep getting stronger and stronger with, better and better chips, better and better graphics, I think we'll be poised to maybe like actually kind of deliver, I guess, on like some of the stuff we were, mentioning as kind of, possible kind of things we could build, because it should hopefully free up some of our time that's been kind of like burned on just like mastering art optimization.
The real dilemma there is, unfortunately, it's not like you can ignore the Quest 2. It's the most popular headset on the market. Selling them for $199 right now, selling like hotcakes. So many even on the market before then. We have PCVR, but what do we play on mostly? Standalone VR. So it takes the most amount of effort to optimize, but it's the vast majority of the audience. So
it does feel better as well. Just having no wires and just being able to just chuck it on wherever and just play. Like it's way better as an experience. Like
how much better does it look PCVR in this game? That's even something you were saying while you were playing.
Last night I was like, you already know on PC this looks a lot. And I mean, and not getting it twisted with, I had no issues.
It looked great on Quest.
I'll put that disclaimer on there, but there were certain elements like water elements. When I looked down, I'm like, that's what made me go, I bet you on PCVR this would look a lot.
Yeah. Is it the same graphics, or did you put the extra squeeze in the PCVR versions coming?
We haven't updated our PCVR version yet to do all the kind of the graphics that it used to have. We had to kind of downgrade it a little bit to hit the kind of Quest level on this, so just to merge all the updates for now. But yeah, we did have it looking pretty great before. Hopefully we can kind of go back to the PCVR version and sort of bring some of that back to it, with all the kind of new gameplay stuff we've added since then. But yeah, it's sort of things you have to take things out, like, because our maps are so big as well, like there's a lot going on and it's all rendering at the same time. So we had to kind of cut out like a lot of sort of basic things like, reflections or shadows, really, like proper shadowing, and try and, you have like a few tricks to sort of fake it in some areas. But yeah, because we've got like, obviously like this whole time of day thing. So like it goes through day to night, and there's random weather that happens like while you're playing. So that kind of takes out some of the things that you could do. So, sometimes you can basically bake all the lighting into it. So all the shadows are just part of the textures, and it's not like animating any of that naturally. But we really wanted to keep this kind of having the light feel natural, so you get this sort of sense of like time progressing as you're going through. I think like that sort of whole sense of progression was something that was pretty important just to the philosophy in general. We wanted this whole thing, like you feel like you're kind of really making progress and getting somewhere. So like that's why like at the end of the first level, we let you kind of see the castle off in the distance, and it's like, right, that's level 9 over there. Off you go. You're gonna get there. But you keep seeing it every now and then as you get there, and you're getting closer each time. You're like, right, I can see this goal. I'm getting that. And yeah, having the weather kind of feel dynamic just really adds to that whole like kind of feeling like you've been on a journey. You get caught in a thunderstorm while there's drones shooting at you, and you're having to like dodge around and shoot them back. It's like pretty epic.
I think too, like we haven't had enough time yet to like fully explore how far we can push things on Quest 3. So I think as we kind of start to push things more on Quest 3, we'll be able to kind of push up like the PCVR level, and then probably just honestly just for therapy for ourselves, like because we're Unreal Engine developers, and so with Unreal, like it's ridiculous how lifelike you can make things. At some point we're going to make some PCVR kind of exclusive map where it's just like, how far can we push this? How nice can we make this look? Just for us to kind of feel like excited as game developers and artists, because that's, that's the advantage of PCVR. And I guess, we did prioritize coming out on PCVR first, just because we've been kind of so ambitious on the art. So it is always a little painful to like scale it back, but we really appreciate the PCVR players, who have supported us. And we know, like I've been watching like the Reddit posts and like Twitter responses and stuff. Like we know that like the graphics are important to people. So, we want to make sure that like if you buy it on PCVR, that there's, something that you're getting that's like feels like true PCVR. We might not be able to do all the levels because we're a small indie team. We're not like like a AAA studio, but at least we can build something that's like a legit PCVR level.
And the game just came out. Small indie team just came out.
Should be constantly noted.
Yeah. And sorry,
it doesn't get small team feel.
No, it has very polished
as far as
feel.
the product goes.
No glitches with how much is going on.
No, and I admittingly, especially with the wood planks on the walls, I was trying like crossover gripping. I was like, all right, can I grab the corner? It wasn't like I was trying to break anything, but I was just looking for like, well, maybe my hand. And
no, it all functions.
Everything worked. The only thing I didn't do was the big old monkey thrust.
Oh, I was doing that last night. It works. The only thing you got to be careful with monkey throwing yourself up is it's very easy to accidentally fall backwards with it. Like when you throw up, you might go back a little bit, then you can't catch it. So you kind of got to like pull and make sure that you're pulling a little forward with it at the same time, but you can monkey pull. Oh. It's one of those risk ones where you're going to cut a lot of time off of
Connor's physics. You're not going to get away with cheating on.
Well, you can cut time, but if you fail and now you're
even
at the bottom,
if you miss grabbing, you're
that's the problem with it. You can shave time, but it's very easy to mess up. So I know we're stealing you both late on a Sunday, especially with time differences. So we can wrap it up in a.
I hope to God y'all can take a little time off and get a breather, because it sounds like for the past better part of 3 years, 2.5 years, it's been going strong. So
one last thing I have to ask about this: $9.99. The game is so fairly.
What did
priced.
we think? $14.99.
I would have guessed $14.99 to $19.99. When I saw $9.99, I was like, "Is it early access? Is it in beta?" $9.99. The game is such a steal. How did you decide on that price point? And is that price point permanent, or is that something that with more content it'll go up down the line?
I guess so to give context, we came out on PCVR on early access at kind of a higher price, and we felt like that was kind of a mistake for where we're at. Like we want to make sure that more people can experience it. And, I guess so that's part of the rationale is just, we want people to try it and have fun and be able to access it. I guess we look at like Walkabout Mini Golf and Thrill of the Fight. Like those are two of our favorite games. And, those have stayed at $9.99 for a long time, and they're insanely popular. And so, I think we'll have a tough decision of whether or not to go like higher price if we add more content. Obviously hope to kind of be a viable business, but if seem like we're rolling at $9.99 and we can work on other games and continue to update this game, like I don't really see a reason for us to like update the price. Like we might add more skins and stuff when it comes to multiplayer, and that might be a way to go for our studio to kind of be more viable. But yeah, I guess like right now, after working on it like 2.5 years, I mean, I think like we just kind of want a lot of people to play it and enjoy it, and that was our priority. But yeah, thanks for saying that you feel, I guess, that there's a lot of value there. I hope we're delivering that well. Yeah.
Well, I think you're correct too, because $9.99, it's an instant buy. $14.99, $19.99, you're going to think, right? You're going to go, well, can I get a referral code? Do I have any credit?
I think less at $14.99.
$9.99, it's like, dude, I have, this is worth every penny.
I love games or experiences you can get that when you do them, you feel that
you got your money's worth.
Yeah, like, I feel like I got the better end of this deal versus, oh shit, I'm paying a shitload of money for not a good deal. So this is like, it's a great deal.
And Walkabout's one of our favorite games, both of ours. Yeah. Talk about every new DLC that drops. And Thrill the Fight,
best financial role model.
Thrill the Fight is a huge reason I bought a Quest 2 headset. It was the first app I bought. I tried Beat Saber at my sister's house, and then I went home, got the app, had to buy it right away. And I think you guys could actually even follow a little bit that Walkabout business model of $3.99 courses, $3.99 obstacles courses coming out down the line. Not to start another rabbit hole discussion. So huge thanks to both of you for joining us today too. This was an awesome interview. You're over there in Spain, so there's quite a time difference. Our listeners know we record on Sunday, so we wrap people in on the a day that's for the family.
What's the most inconvenient day we can pick it a week?
How about the most inconvenient time too? So, but honestly, the sky's the limit with Ventures Gauntlet. Like I even just said, I even see potential with paid DLC, courses, maybe even IP.
Tournaments. Dude, there's so much you could do.
And now multiplayer. So huge props to you both, to the whole team over at Bearhammer Games. You guys really had something special.
Great name.
When I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, I sent it to you. I was like, this is going to be a hit. So I love to hear that there's more to come. And, before we let you both go, is there anything that you want to say to the listeners just about Ventures Gauntlet or just in general?
I would just say I had a really great time chatting with you guys. I mean, I'd love to come back on at some point down the road. This has been really fun. This is the first podcast I've done, and it's a really awesome experience. That's all I've got.
Yeah, no,
awesome.
it's
Great
been
guest.
great. Yeah, thanks for having us
Awesome.
on again. And yeah, just like thanks to everyone who's been playing the game. Just it's nice seeing people there's been a few people that have posted videos playing it. It's just great seeing people having fun doing something that you've been working on for the last 2 years. It's nice to kind of see it finally out there, which is great.
I love to hear that.
No, we'll definitely have you on again.
God, this was too easy.
Once the dust settles and
too easy of a chat not to have them back on. Once
we could fix the world's problems with this group,
right? Definitely with when multiplayer's ready. Definitely when multiplayer's ready, we'll get you back on. But even if you guys want to come on before then,
just
whenever, just open invite. You guys were great, and I'll say it right now at $9.99, I have no problem
jump on it,
saying this game is worth every penny. Highly recommend it. And just to plant the seeds, Walkabout Mini Golf business model, I would have no problem dropping $2, $3, $4 on a freaking 20-minute obstacle course with leaderboards, especially if there's IPs and collaborate. I'm just saying. So thank you, Brian and Connor, for joining us today. To the listeners, again, $9.99. Go check out Ventures Gauntlet. It's a steal.
Please do.
Loads of
Post
fun.
those times.
Yeah, let's see some competitive race times going. And once multiplayer goes, maybe we can even do some Discord night races. That would be cool. A little racing tournament. So thank you again, both of you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate us 5 stars. But more importantly, go check out Ventures Gauntlet on MetaQuest and PCVR. Awesome. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Cheers.